In every season, there are moments worth slowing down for. Autumn, with its golden leaves and gentle rains, invites us to pause, breathe, and find beauty in the simplest corners of life. Here at Crafted Nest, we believe that inspiration can be found not only in grand designs, but in the little details: a steaming cup of tea by the window, a rustic garden path lined with moss, or the quiet joy of baking with fruits freshly gathered from the harvest. Our journey today is guided by the spirit of Amati, Tiru, Dan Modificasi. We observe what nature offers. We adapt it into our homes and gardens, and we craft spaces that reflect warmth and authenticity. This is not about perfection. It is about creating beauty that feels alive, personal, and possible for everyone. As the rain falls gently outside, we will explore cottage gardens glowing in autumn light, cozy nooks filled with blankets and candles, and handmade ideas that bring rustic charm into daily living. Each scene is a reminder that simplicity can be rich, and that the small rituals of home and garden have the power to restore us. Take this moment to enjoy the calm. Let the imagery inspire, let the words remind you of slower rhythms, and let your own imagination wander freely. And if these ideas spark joy for you, I warmly invite you to become part of this journey. Subscribe to Crafted Nest and discover more inspirations for simple, soulful living, one season at a time. Together, we can craft homes and gardens that nurture not only beauty, but peace. There is something quietly magical about reviving a cottage garden in autumn. The season may be known for fading blooms and falling leaves, but hidden in those transitions lies a chance to bring fresh life and beauty back to the soil. Imagine walking down a small path where golden leaves crunch beneath your shoes, while roses still linger stubbornly on their arch, whispering that life does not simply end with the cold. In autumn, the garden teaches us the art of resilience. Start by allowing the fallen leaves to become part of the design rather than a mess to clear away. Their golden carpets soften pathways and nourish the soil beneath. A scattering of pumpkins, whether homegrown or picked up at the market, instantly adds warmth to every corner. They remind us that abundance doesn't have to look polished. Sometimes it is the raw and imperfect that feels most alive. If you want a garden to revive itself before winter arrives, focus on late bloomers like asters and marigolds. Their colors glow against the muted tones of autumn, almost like little flames refusing to be put out. Train climbing plants such as ivy or roses onto old structures or arches. Their strength balances the fragility of shorter plants that fade with the frost. Revival is also about letting go. Allow certain wild patches to rest. Let seed heads stand tall for the birds, and don't over-tidy. In those untouched corners, nature takes care of herself. A garden in autumn is less about control and more about trust. The trust that after the stillness of winter, life will return stronger and more vibrant. Reviving your cottage garden in autumn is not just a design choice. It is a way of living slowly, with patience, and with faith in the quiet beauty of change. Slow living often begins not with big changes, but with small, almost invisible rituals. A steaming cup of tea by the window. The rhythmic sound of rain tapping gently against the glass. A blanket casually folded over a chair, waiting for someone to wrap themselves in its warmth. These are the kinds of moments that invite you to breathe deeper, to soften the rush of the day, and to remind yourself that simple can be enough. In a cottage or even a city apartment, you can create your own slow living corner. Begin with natural textures: wood, linen, clay. A rustic wooden table or a wicker chair instantly grounds the space, making it feel timeless. Add a small table by the window, where you can keep a book, a pot of herbal tea, or perhaps a candle for the evenings. This is not about decoration, but about setting a stage for presence. One practical way to embrace slow living is through mindful preparation of food or drink. Brewing loose leaf tea or baking a loaf of bread may take more time than a tea bag or store-bought bread, but the process itself is a gift. It forces your hands to move with intention, and your mind to slow its rhythm. Lighting is also essential. Instead of harsh artificial light, let natural daylight guide the mood of the room. On rainy days, the dimness feels cozy. On bright days, it fills the space with joy. If the evening calls for warmth, a candle or oil lamp adds a golden glow that instantly shifts your mindset from task to rest. Simple, slow-living home moments are about choosing quality over quantity, the quality of time, of attention, and of peace. It is the art of turning the ordinary into a ceremony of calm. There is a special kind of comfort that only a rainy day can bring. The sound of water falling softly against the roof, the blurred world beyond the window, and the cool air outside that makes the indoors feel like a sanctuary. On such days, our homes transform into safe havens and rituals become anchors that connect us to peace. To create a cozy rainy day atmosphere, focus on layers of texture and light. A thick wool blanket draped across the sofa, knitted socks warming your feet, and cushions arranged casually on chairs. These elements do more than decorate. They invite you to pause. Place a candle or a lantern on a wooden table, letting its soft glow reflect against the window as rain streaks down. The combination of flickering light and water outside feels like nature and home are speaking to each other. In the kitchen, the aroma of something warm is essential. It might be a loaf of bread pulled fresh from the oven, or a pot of tea steeping slowly on the stove. Food prepared on rainy days carries an extra layer of comfort because the act of waiting matches the rhythm of the weather. You can even dry herbs or hang garlic braids near the counter, making the kitchen both practical and beautiful. Writing in a journal or reading a book becomes almost ceremonial when done by a rainy window. The rain provides background music, steady and soothing, while the world outside fades into a blur. It is as if the storm gives you permission to stop, to rest, and to listen inward. Cozy rainy day rituals remind us that home is not just shelter. It is where simple objects, natural light, and small actions combine to create a feeling of warmth that no storm can take away. A garden that welcomes wildlife is not only more alive, it is also more balanced. When you invite birds, bees, butterflies, frogs, and small creatures into your outdoor space, you are weaving yourself into the wider rhythm of nature. The garden becomes less about control and more about harmony, less about neatness, and more about coexistence. Creating a wildlife-friendly garden begins with something very simple. Leave parts of it untamed. Let hedges grow a little wilder, allow seed heads to remain through the colder months, and resist the urge to cut everything back. These small gestures provide food, shelter, and protection for countless tiny lives. The untidy corners become sanctuaries where life thrives quietly. Water is another gift you can offer. A bird bath, even a shallow bowl filled with fresh water, instantly draws visitors. Birds not only drink, but also splash joyfully, adding movement and music to your garden. Frogs, too, are grateful for damp stone piles or shaded areas where they can hide. You may be surprised how quickly your garden becomes a stage for small dramas. A butterfly basking in sunlight, a robin curiously watching your gardening, bees weaving from flower to flower. Choose plants that attract and sustain life. Lavender and verbena invite pollinators, while fruit trees feed both humans and animals. Wildflowers are especially generous, offering nectar and seeds without asking for much care in return. Over time, these plants will transform your garden into a thriving ecosystem. The beauty of a wildlife-friendly garden lies not in perfection, but in presence. Each creature that visits brings its own story, reminding you that the garden is not yours alone. It is a shared home. In nurturing them, you find yourself nurtured too, in spirit and in heart. Water has always carried a quiet magic in the garden. The sound of it trickling, shimmering, or rippling adds a rhythm that no other element can replace. A rustic outdoor water feature not only refreshes the air but also transforms a simple corner into a sanctuary, a place where time slows and senses awaken. You don't need an elaborate design. Sometimes, the simplest ideas carry the most charm. A repurposed clay pot turned into a fountain, a stone bird bath nestled among roses, or even a shallow bowl raised on mossy cobbles can become a focal point. What matters most is how the water moves and how it interacts with the garden around it. Birds will come to drink and bathe, butterflies will hover close, and the reflection of sunlight on the surface will paint the garden with fleeting sparkles. If you want to build one yourself, think about balance between natural and handmade. Use materials that already belong to your garden: stones, slate tiles, old bricks. These give the feature a sense of belonging, as if it has always been there. Add surrounding plants like ivy, ferns, or creeping thyme to soften the edges and create a living frame. Over time, moss will settle and add its own patina of age, turning your feature into something timeless. The sound of bubbling water is also therapeutic. It masks distant noise, soothes tired thoughts, and draws you into the present. On a warm afternoon, sitting by a simple fountain feels like meditation. On a rainy day, it blends with the storm, amplifying the sense of coziness indoors. A rustic water feature doesn't just decorate a garden, it breathes life into it, offering refreshment to both creatures who visit and to the soul of the one who tends it. Autumn has a way of whispering into our homes, asking us to soften the edges and invite warmth into every corner. Styling your space for the season is less about buying new things and more about honoring the gifts that autumn naturally brings. A bowl of apples on the counter, a handful of dried leaves arranged in a jar, a scattering of pumpkins on the table. Each one carries the story of harvest, of abundance, of slowing down. Begin with textures. Plaid blankets folded over the sofa, a knitted throw draped on a chair, or a rug woven in earthy tones instantly changes the mood of a room. These elements remind us that comfort is as much about feeling as it is about sight. The soft weight of a blanket across your lap on a rainy day can transform the ordinary into something memorable. Lighting plays a vital role. Let natural daylight flow in during the day, but when dusk arrives, trade it for candles or lanterns. The flickering glow creates intimacy, reminding us of hearth fires from centuries past. Even a simple jar with a tea light can shift the entire atmosphere of a room. Food, too, can be part of your decor. Jars of homemade jam lined up on a kitchen shelf, or a basket of freshly harvested apples by the door, speak not just of nourishment, but of tradition and patience. They are visual reminders of the work done in the garden and the rewards it brings indoors. Autumn styling is never about perfection. It is about making a home feel alive with the rhythm of the season, warm, grounded, and full of quiet beauty. A space that reflects not just the colors outside, but the emotions they stir within us. There is a certain joy in creating a small corner at home dedicated entirely to tea. It does not need much space, just a shelf, a counter, or even a windowsill, yet it becomes a daily invitation to pause and care for yourself. A herbal tea corner is more than decor. It is a ritual woven into the fabric of slow living. Imagine rows of glass jars filled with mint, chamomile, lavender, and lemon balm. Their colors fade gently as they dry, yet their scents remain strong, waiting to be awakened by hot water. Hanging bundles of herbs above the corner not only look beautiful, but also remind you of the garden's generosity. Over time, you begin to see your kitchen as both apothecary and sanctuary. The act of preparing tea in such a space changes the rhythm of your day. Instead of rushing, you reach for a jar, breathe in its fragrance, and measure carefully into a teapot. Watching steam rise from a cup becomes a moment of meditation. Even the simplest herbs, a sprig of mint from the garden, or dried chamomile blossoms, feel luxurious when prepared with intention. To build your own tea corner, gather jars, baskets, or clay containers. Label them by hand to add personal charm. Keep a kettle nearby, and, if possible, a small tray to carry your tea to the window or garden. It's a reminder that beauty lies in the ordinary, that a corner can be transformed into a retreat with nothing more than herbs, hot water, and time. A herbal tea corner whispers to you on rainy afternoons and chilly mornings. Slow down, breathe deep, and sip the warmth that nature so generously offers. There is something deeply comforting about the presence of firewood in a home. Even before the fire is lit, the sight of neatly stacked logs carries a promise of warmth, of evenings gathered by the hearth, of stories shared under flickering light. Firewood storage, when done with care, can be more than practical. It can become a design element, adding rustic beauty to the space. In a cottage interior, placing logs beside the fireplace in a vintage iron rack or a woven wicker basket instantly evokes a timeless atmosphere. The wood itself becomes part of the decor. Each ring, each grain, each earthy tone speaks of forests and seasons past. Pair it with a wool blanket nearby, and you create not just a look, but a feeling of comfort and anticipation. Outdoors, a simple firewood shed can be styled in creative ways. Stacking logs in geometric patterns transforms storage into art. Circles, triangles, or layered lines turn necessity into beauty. Cover the top with a sloped roof or reclaimed wood to protect from rain, and you have a display that is both functional and charming. Fallen leaves scattered around only enhance the scene, making it feel alive with the season. Practicality matters too. Store firewood slightly raised from the ground to keep it dry, and allow air to flow between the stacks to prevent dampness. This not only preserves the logs, but also ensures they are always ready for use. Vintage firewood storage is a reminder of simpler living, where preparation for winter is as much about ritual as it is about survival. The logs you gather and display today are the warmth you will feel tomorrow. And in that, there is poetry, nature's strength transformed into comfort, waiting quietly in a corner until it is called to life. There is no season that embraces the kitchen quite like autumn. The air outside grows cooler, and suddenly the warmth of an oven feels like a friend. The fragrance of baked apples, cinnamon, and maple syrup fills every corner, turning even the simplest cottage kitchen into a sanctuary of comfort. Rustic autumn baking is not just about food. It is about creating an atmosphere where nourishment and beauty live side by side. Imagine pulling a pie from the oven, its crust golden and flaking gently at the edges. On the counter beside it, jars of jam glisten like jewels, capturing the sweetness of summer berries to be enjoyed on cold winter mornings. A loaf of bread rests on a wooden board, still steaming, its aroma mingling with the faint spice of cloves and nutmeg. These small details are not simply meals, they are the heartbeats of a season. Decorating your kitchen for autumn doesn't need store-bought items. Gather what nature offers: apples in a woven basket, pears lined up in a bowl, dried corn stalks propped against a shelf. Even a scattering of fallen leaves on the windowsill can turn an ordinary room into a celebration of the harvest. Herbs hung upside down above the stove not only dry for future teas and stews, but also add fragrance and charm. The magic of rustic autumn baking lies in its imperfection. Flour dust left on the table, fingerprints on jam jars, or uneven slices of pie all remind us that beauty lives in authenticity. These kitchens are not showrooms, they are working living spaces filled with warmth. In embracing rustic autumn baking and decor, we embrace a slower rhythm. A kitchen becomes more than a place to cook. It becomes a gathering point, a storyteller, and a memory maker for the season. Sometimes the most beautiful corners of a garden are the ones we do not design, but instead allow to grow freely. A wildlife-friendly corner, left a little wilder, becomes a haven for creatures small and quiet. Hedgehogs hiding beneath piles of logs, frogs nestled near damp stones, or butterflies sipping from late-blooming flowers. These spaces remind us that a garden is not only for us, but also for the countless lives that share it. Creating such a corner does not require grand effort. Begin with a pile of wood stacked neatly in one shaded spot. Over time, Moss and fungi will weave through the bark, offering food and shelter to insects and small mammals. Leave tall grasses uncut and hedges untrimmed in certain areas. They create hiding places where birds can rest safely away from predators. A simple birdhouse hanging from a branch can invite feathered visitors that will return year after year. Water, even in the simplest form, changes everything. A shallow bowl refreshed daily can become a lifeline for birds and frogs alike. Position it among ivy or ferns, and soon you will notice small ripples, evidence that nature has accepted your gift. These corners also offer us lessons. They remind us to resist overcontrol, to accept imperfection, and to recognize that beauty exists beyond our plans. Watching a butterfly dance over verbena or a hedgehog rustle through leaves is a kind of quiet reward for patience. A wildlife shelter corner is not messy, it is alive. It proves that by giving space back to nature, we create harmony. And in return, the garden offers us music, movement, and a deeper sense of connection to the living world around us. There is something timeless about apples in autumn. Their rosy skins, crisp bite, and sweet fragrance carry the essence of the season itself. In a rustic kitchen, displaying apples is more than decoration. It is an invitation to savor harvest, memory, and tradition all at once. A simple woven basket filled with apples on a wooden table instantly transforms a kitchen corner. It tells a story of orchards, of hands that picked each fruit, of mornings spent gathering under golden leaves. Place the basket near a window, where daylight falls softly, and it becomes a natural centerpiece that requires no effort, only appreciation. For a more creative display, arrange apples in an old wooden crate or ceramic bowl, pairing them with cinnamon sticks, dried leaves, or a sprig of rosemary. These small touches deepen the autumnal feeling, making your kitchen feel warm and alive. Nearby, line up jars of apple jam, cider, or chutney, each jar a piece of the season preserved for colder days. The act of displaying apples also inspires action. When you see them, you are more likely to slice one for a snack, bake a crumble, or simmer a pot of spiced cider. In this way, the display is not just visual but practical, bridging beauty and nourishment. Don't worry about perfection. A few bruised apples add authenticity, reminding us that food is real and seasonal, not polished for a showroom. These imperfect fruits can still find purpose in pies, jams, or even as treats for birds and animals outside. A rustic apple display whispers of abundance, gratitude, and simplicity. It makes the kitchen not just a place to cook, but a celebration of what the season has given. A reminder that beauty and sustenance often come from the same basket. There are few joys as simple and profound as reading by a rainy window. The sound of rain creates its own rhythm, steady and soothing, while the glass blurs the world outside into soft watercolor shapes. Inside, the warmth of a blanket, the comfort of a book, and the gentle steam of a mug combine to turn an ordinary corner into a sanctuary. Creating a reading nook doesn't require grand renovation. A window ledge with a cushion, a small chair pulled close, or even a thick rug laid on the floor can become the perfect retreat. What matters is intention, a space designed not just for reading, but for pausing. Add a blanket in earthy tones, a pillow or two, and a small table for tea or coffee. Suddenly, the corner becomes alive with purpose. Lighting is key. Let the soft gray daylight of rainy skies fill the room, creating contrast with the warmth of your interior. If the evening arrives, a simple lamp with a linen shade or even a candle can extend the mood. The goal is not brightness, but coziness, the kind that invites you to linger on a page longer than usual. This nook is also about ritual. Place a book you've been meaning to read within reach, or a journal for thoughts that rise with the rhythm of rain. Keep a basket nearby to hold a blanket, or a stack of your favorite novels waiting for their turn. The rain outside becomes background music, steady enough to soothe but quiet enough to let your imagination wander. A rainy window reading nook teaches us that slowing down is not laziness, but care. It is a gift we give ourselves, a reminder that sometimes the best journeys happen not in the world outside, but within the pages resting on our lap. As autumn deepens and the days grow colder, the garden whispers a quiet reminder: prepare for what is coming. A mini greenhouse, or even a simple cold frame, is a way to keep life alive through the winter months. It is not only practical, giving plants shelter from frost, but also deeply comforting to see green flourishing against the gray of the season. A DIY mini greenhouse can be built with little more than wood, glass, or even clear plastic panels. Old windows become doors of light, framing herbs and lettuce that would otherwise fade in the chill. Each time you lift the lid or open the door, a pocket of warmth greets you, carrying the earthy scent of soil and growth. Inside, you can nurture seedlings, protect delicate herbs, or extend the harvest of leafy greens. Even a few pots of spinach or parsley can feel miraculous when frost covers the garden beds outside. The greenhouse becomes a living lantern in the midst of bare branches and fallen leaves, a promise that the cycle of growth continues despite the season's stillness. Preparing one for winter is a ritual of care. Line the base with straw for insulation, position it in a place that catches the soft winter sun, and water sparingly, for the soil dries slowly in colder months. The effort is small, but the reward is profound. Fresh leaves when everything else is sleeping. A mini greenhouse also carries a symbolic warmth. It reminds us that protection is not about shutting life away, but about creating conditions where it can thrive. Even in winter's silence, you will have a corner of green, a living reminder that spring always returns, and that care today shapes abundance tomorrow. When the sun begins to fade and the garden falls into shadow, light becomes more than function. It becomes poetry. Rustic solar lanterns are one of the simplest yet most enchanting ways to extend the life of your garden into the night. Their glow is soft, golden, and timeless, echoing the warmth of firelight without the need for matches or wires. Imagine lanterns hung from tree branches, their light spilling onto a stone path, guiding your steps in the cool evening air. Or a row of small solar lamps tucked between roses and ivy, turning ordinary corners into secret retreats. As twilight deepens, each lantern becomes a star scattered across the garden, reminding us that beauty is found not only in the daylight, but also in the quiet of the night. The charm of solar lanterns lies in their simplicity. Powered by the sun, they gather energy during the day and release it as a gift when darkness falls. No plugs, no maintenance, just patience and trust in nature's cycle. Their rustic frames, whether wrought iron, wood, or weathered metal, blend seamlessly into the cottage aesthetic, looking as if they've always belonged. You can place them in countless ways. Hang them from tree limbs, line them along fences, or scatter them among flower beds. For pathways, taller posts can create a gentle rhythm of light, leading the eye and the heart toward a cozy corner. Indoors, even placing one on a windowsill allows the glow to spill softly into your room. Rustic solar lanterns remind us that even in darkness, there is gentle beauty waiting to be seen. They are small suns we plant ourselves, guiding us through night with the same patience that the day gives freely. A stone pathway in a cottage garden is more than a way to walk. It is a thread that ties the landscape together. Each step becomes part of a story, connecting corners of life and memory. Over time, moss creeps between the stones, rain softens their edges, and fallen leaves scatter across their surface. What was once neat becomes alive, wearing the marks of seasons and footsteps. Reviving such a path does not mean stripping it of age. Instead, it is about balancing care with respect for time. Begin by clearing only enough to reveal the stones. Sweep away debris, but allow some moss to remain. Its green softness adds charm and character. Replace any broken stones with ones that carry similar texture, so the path feels seamless and timeless. Plants can be your allies. Low creepers such as thyme, chamomile, or mosses fill the gaps, releasing fragrance as you walk. Along the sides, climbing roses, ivy, or even tall grasses frame the walkway, turning each stroll into a sensory experience. When dew clings to the plants at dawn, or when fallen leaves create a golden carpet in autumn, the path feels enchanted. Lighting can also bring it alive at dusk. Place small lanterns or solar lights along the edge to highlight its natural curve. The glow will guide your way, but more importantly, it will remind you that even the simplest paths can feel magical under the right light. A revived stone pathway is never perfect. It carries irregular shapes, uneven heights, and shifting shades. Yet these imperfections are its beauty, proof of history, presence, and life lived. Walking down such a path is like walking through time itself, guided gently by nature's hand. There is something timeless about adding a bird bath or a statue to a garden. These features stand quietly, yet they transform the landscape into a place of story and character. A bird bath offers life and movement, as birds dip their wings and scatter droplets into the air. A statue offers stillness and form, its presence grounding the garden with a sense of history and meaning. Together, they create a corner that feels both alive and eternal. Creating a DIY bird bath is simpler than you might imagine. Repurpose a clay pot turned upside down with a shallow bowl on top, or stack flat stones to hold a basin. Fill it with clean water and place it in a sheltered but visible spot. Within days, you'll notice visitors, sparrows, robins, or even butterflies pausing for a sip. Watching them brings joy that no ornament can equal. A statue, whether grand or humble, adds another dimension. It might be a weathered angel tucked among ivy, a simple carved shape framed by roses, or even a homemade creation from cement or wood. What matters is not perfection, but resonance, the way the piece feels at home in its corner. Allow plants to grow around it, softening its edges and making it part of the garden's story. Over time, moss may gather, leaves may fall, and vines may climb. Instead of cleaning them away, let them stay. They remind us that the garden and its ornaments are not static, but living and changing. A bird bath and statue corner becomes more than decoration. It becomes a sanctuary where stillness and motion meet, where birds bring laughter and stone brings silence. It is a place to pause, to watch, and to feel part of a larger rhythm. There is a certain romance in gathering outdoors for a picnic during autumn. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and wood smoke, while the golden light of the season makes everything appear softer, richer. A rustic picnic table becomes more than furniture. It transforms into a stage for connection, laughter, and simple pleasures. Start with the table itself. A rough wooden surface, whether freshly built or weathered with time, sets the tone. Cover it with a simple linen cloth or leave it bare for a natural look. Add baskets filled with apples or pears, loaves of bread still warm from the oven, and a scattering of pumpkins or gourds to echo the season. These touches don't need to be perfect. Their charm lies in their imperfection. Candles in jars or lanterns hanging from branches create intimacy as the day fades into evening. Their glow combines with the amber hues of autumn, wrapping the gathering in warmth. Enamel mugs of steaming tea or spiced cider placed on the table invite guests to wrap their hands around the heat, savoring both flavor and comfort. Plaid blankets folded neatly on benches or laid across chairs add not just warmth, but texture. They invite people to linger even as the air cools. A few fallen leaves scattered naturally across the setting are not clutter. They are part of the decoration, reminders that the table sits in the heart of the season. A rustic autumn picnic setup is less about formality and more about presence. It is about pausing to share food, to breathe in the cool air, to watch the light shift through branches. In such moments, life feels uncomplicated, and beauty is found in the simplest gatherings. There are corners in every home that wait quietly for us to claim them. When the weather turns colder and the rain taps gently on the glass, these corners become sanctuaries. An armchair draped with a thick blanket, a basket filled with throws, and the gentle glow of candles can transform a simple space into a cocoon of comfort. The essence of a cozy nook lies in layering. Start with texture: wool, linen, or cotton in earthy tones. A blanket folded across a chair or piled casually on a cushion immediately softens the atmosphere. Add pillows in muted patterns, letting them invite you to sink deeper into rest. This is not decoration alone. It is an invitation to pause. Candles are the heart of this design. Their light is not harsh, but tender, flickering gently against walls and ceilings. Even a cluster of small tea lights on a tray can create an ambience that warms both body and spirit. Place them near a window on rainy days, where the combination of droplets outside and glow inside creates a scene that feels almost cinematic, yet entirely real. A small side table or tray is practical, but also part of the charm. A cup of tea, a notebook, or even a plate of biscuits completes the nook, making it clear that this space is meant for living, not just looking. Surround the corner with simple touches: a vase of dried leaves, a stack of well-loved books, or a lamp with a soft shade. This nook is where time slows. Wrapped in blankets, bathed in candlelight, listening to the rain, you rediscover the beauty of stillness. It is a reminder that peace is not far away. It waits quietly in the corners we choose to tend with care. A rustic garden bench has a way of turning a simple corner into a sanctuary. It is not only a place to sit, but also a place to pause, to watch the dance of leaves in the wind, and to feel the rhythm of the season. When autumn vines begin to trail across its surface, the bench becomes part of the living story of the garden, half furniture, half sculpture. Building your own bench doesn't need perfection. Reclaimed wood or old planks carry their own history, and when joined together they create something both sturdy and soulful. The marks of age, scratches, uneven tones, moss creeping along the edges, only deepen its character. Place the bench beneath a tree or against a stone wall, somewhere it feels naturally at home. Vines are the final touch. Let ivy, grapevines, or even golden Virginia creeper find their way across the seat and backrest. Their growth softens the structure, blending it into the garden until it feels as though the bench has always been there. Each season, the vines will change: fresh green in spring, lush in summer, and flaming gold or crimson in autumn. In winter, the bare tendrils will still tell their quiet story. To make the space inviting, add small details: a plaid blanket folded neatly on the armrest, a lantern placed nearby, or pumpkins gathered at its feet. These touches encourage you to linger, even when the air grows cool. A rustic bench entwined with autumn vines is more than furniture. It is a gesture of welcome for yourself, for guests, and even for nature. It is where you sit and remember that the beauty of a garden is not only in what we grow, but in how we choose to rest within it. There is a quiet joy in creating a corner just for writing, a place where thoughts can flow as freely as the rain outside, where words become companions and silence becomes fertile ground. In a world that moves too quickly, a journal and pen invite us to return to the slower rhythm of our own inner voice. A writing corner can be as simple as a small desk by a window. Place a chair that feels comfortable, a stack of notebooks, and a fountain pen or pencil that glides easily across the page. Natural daylight spilling through sheer curtains will set the mood, while a cup of tea nearby adds warmth to the ritual. This is not just a workspace, it is a sanctuary for reflection. Decorating the space with small details deepens its atmosphere. A jar of dried flowers, a candle flickering in the evening, or a shelf of well-loved books can inspire creativity without overwhelming the senses. Keep the design minimal but intentional, so the mind feels open and the heart feels welcome. Journaling itself becomes a practice of slow living. Writing down thoughts, gratitude, or even simple observations of the day helps anchor the spirit. It is not about creating perfect sentences, but about allowing space for truth. Each page turned is a reminder that life is built not in leaps, but in small steps and reflections. In this corner, time feels different. The rush of the outside world fades, replaced by the scratching of pen on paper, the soft steam of tea rising, and the glow of light across wooden grain. A journal becomes both mirror and friend, holding stories, dreams, and the quiet beauty of everyday life.